I installed a security camera after my packages went missing. My neighbor laughed, "You'll regret watching that footage." I reviewed the tape and saw her enter my garage with a crowbar. I ran to confront her, but she was already standing on my porch holding something that made me freeze. I live in Springfield, Missouri. Been here most of my life. It's not a big city, but it's not a small town either. People keep to themselves for the most part. I work a steady job, pay my bills, keep my house decent. I'm not one for drama. I just want peace. But that changed when Diane moved in. She bought the small blue house 2 doors down. That was 8, maybe 9 months ago. I didn't know much about her at first. She was quiet. Didn't wave. Wore long sleeves all the time, even when it was hot. She drove a loud green van that always looked like it was one pothole away from breaking down. I figured she was just a private person. I didn't care. I didn't need a friendly neighbor. I just wanted her to mind her business and stay out of mine. Everything was fine until October. Packages started disappearing. At first, I thought it was just a mistake. Delivery drivers drop stuff at the wrong address sometimes. I didn't think much of it when the first one didn't show up. It was a birthday gift I ordered for my niece, some art set from Amazon. Then it happened again. A new set of tools I bought on sale. I checked my tracking. Said it was delivered. But it wasn't. Then a bigger box went missing, Christmas gifts I ordered early. That's when I got suspicious. That one hurt. I called the shipping company. They said it was confirmed delivered. I walked around to my neighbors, asked if they saw anything. Everyone said no. Diane didn't even open the door. I could see her blinds shift like she was watching me, but she never came out. So I went to the police. They told me porch thefts were up all over the city. Some kids, maybe. They told me to install a camera. So I did. It was a cheap camera. Nothing special. I put it above the garage, angled it at the porch and driveway. I didn't tell anyone about it. I wanted to catch whoever it was in the act. 2 days later, another package vanished. I ordered a pair of gloves, work gloves for yard stuff. Not expensive, but I didn't care about the price. I just wanted to know who was taking my stuff. That night, I sat down and pulled up the footage. I didn't expect to see what I saw. It was around 1:30 a.m. The camera picked up movement. A person. I leaned in close. It was a woman, moving slow, careful. Her head was down. But then she looked up. It was Diane. She was wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. Her hair was tied back. In her right hand, she had a crowbar. She walked straight to my garage. Like she'd done it before. She jammed the crowbar under the panel, popped it open just enough to slip inside. She was only in there a couple minutes. When she came back out, she had the package under her arm. No rush. No panic. Like she wasn't even worried. I sat there, frozen. Then I grabbed my phone and ran outside. I wasn't thinking straight. I was just pissed. But when I opened my front door, she was already there. Standing on my porch. She was holding something wrapped in a towel. Just standing there like she knew I'd come out. She gave me a weird smile. Not friendly. Not crazy. Just calm. Then she said, "You'll regret watching that footage." My stomach dropped. I didn't say anything. I just looked at what was in her hands. She unwrapped the towel slowly. It was a camera. Not the one I installed on the garage, another one. One I forgot about. An old backup I used last year. She must have found it. It was smashed. Lens cracked, plastic bent. She dropped it at my feet and said, "You don't know what you're getting into." Then she turned and walked off like nothing happened. The next morning, I went to the police again. Showed them the video. They took a report. Said they'd look into it. But they didn't do anything. No arrest. No charges. Just some file with my name on it. That's when it started getting worse. 2 nights later, I woke up to a flat tire. All 4 were slashed. Not popped. Slashed. Next day, my lawn looked like someone poured bleach across it in big patches. Dead grass, yellow streaks. I bought more cameras. Moved the first one to the backyard. Put another in the tree facing Diane's house. I started keeping track of everything she did. She had a routine. During the day, she barely left. But on Fridays, she'd leave around midnight. Always in the green van. Always came back around 2 a.m. Then Max disappeared. Max is my Labrador. 7 years old. Big softy. Sleeps at the foot of my bed every night. One morning, he was gone. His collar was on the porch. I felt sick. I knew it was her. I knew it. I filed another report. Showed them everything. The video. The missing dog. The threats. But they didn't care. They told me unless I caught her in the act or had proof she hurt my dog, there was nothing they could do. That's when I stopped waiting for help. I started planning. I knew she left every Friday. I started prepping. I checked her van route. Found a spot on the edge of town where she always went, an old storage unit place that's mostly empty now. I followed her the next Friday. I stayed far back. Parked down the road. Watched her drive in. The place was quiet. No lights. Just old storage units, some of them rusted shut. I waited until she went inside one of them. Then I got out, crept closer. I had gloves. A flashlight. A burner phone with the camera rolling. What I saw inside made my skin crawl. I'll explain that part next. The storage unit Diane went into was near the back of the lot. Most of the place looked abandoned. Bent fences, weeds growing through cracks in the pavement, busted lights hanging from rusted poles. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest. It was past 1 a.m., dead quiet. I kept my flashlight off, phone camera rolling in my coat pocket. I crouched behind an old dumpster and waited. Diane's van was parked at Unit 48. The roll-up door was half open. I couldn't see her at first, but I could hear noises, soft scraping, metal clinking, something heavy being moved. After a minute, she came into view. She dragged a large plastic bin toward the open door. It was one of those black storage tubs with the yellow lid. I couldn't see what was inside. She was muttering to herself. I leaned in, straining to hear, but it was just fragments, something about not ready and it's too soon. Then I saw something that stopped me cold. A collar. Max's collar. It was hanging from a hook on the wall inside the unit. Same red one with the little bone tag. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to run in there and rip her apart, but I forced myself to stay still. I had to get proof. She pulled another bin toward the front. This one wasn't closed. Inside were packages. Stolen ones. Not just mine. Dozens of boxes, envelopes, and opened bags. Some still sealed, others half torn apart. I recognized a few from neighbors, like the floral wrapping paper Ms. Vega 2 doors down used for everything she mailed. Diane had been robbing half the block. But that wasn't the worst of it. In the corner of the unit was a small cage. And inside it was Max. He was lying down. Not moving much, but alive. His tail thumped once when Diane walked past him, like he thought she might feed him. My throat went dry. What kind of person takes someone's dog and keeps it in a cold, dark unit? I pulled back, shaking, and called the police from the burner phone. Gave them the address, told them it was an emergency, said a dog had been stolen and was being held in a storage unit. They said they were sending someone. I stayed hidden. 10 minutes later, Diane suddenly looked up. She went still. Then she ran to the door and pulled it shut, hard. I didn't know if she heard me or saw something, but something spooked her. A minute later, she came back out, locked the unit with a padlock, jumped in the van, and sped off. I waited. A few minutes later, a single squad car rolled in. I stepped out with my hands up, explained everything to the officer. He looked at me like I was crazy. I showed him the video. Told him about the dog. Told him I could describe everything inside. He called for backup. When they cut the lock and opened the unit, Max was still inside, shivering. The officer wrapped him in a blanket and carried him out. The bins were still there. Stolen mail, tools, even a few tablets and phones. But something was missing. Diane's first bin, the one she dragged out earlier, it was gone. I hadn't seen her take it into the van. She must have hidden it before she left. And whatever was in that bin was important. They took a report, started collecting evidence. The officers said they'd put out a notice for Diane and search her home. I went home with Max. He was weak, but he was alive. The vet said he'd been dehydrated, underfed, but no broken bones or poison. Just scared. The next night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking the locks. Watching the camera feeds. Waiting. At 3:17 a.m., a motion alert pinged on my phone. I opened the app. Diane was back. She was standing at the edge of my front lawn, just staring at the house. She didn't move for a full minute. Then she slowly walked up to the porch, placed something on the welcome mat, and walked away. I waited until she was gone, then opened the door. It was a burned photo. A picture of me. One I didn't even know existed. It was scorched at the edges, blackened in the middle, but you could still make out my face. And on the back, in red marker, were the words, "Not over." I handed it to the police the next morning. They said they'd add it to the case file. But I could tell by the way they talked, they didn't take her seriously. To them, she was just a petty thief who'd finally been caught. A weird woman with a crowbar and a grudge. But I knew better. This wasn't just about mail. Diane was hiding something bigger. And I wasn't done either. I started digging into her background. Looked up property records. Found her last address, an old trailer in Joplin, Missouri. I made some calls. Asked a few questions. What I found made everything worse. There was a fire. 6 years ago. A trailer burned to the ground. No charges filed. No arrests. But there were whispers. A missing child. A sibling. A sealed case. Something bad happened there. And Diane disappeared right after. That plastic bin she dragged out of the unit, whatever was in it, might have had something to do with that past. I had to know what she was hiding. Because I was starting to believe this wasn't just revenge. It was obsession. I couldn't shake what I read about Diane. The fire. The sealed case. The missing sibling. The cops wouldn't tell me more. They said it was sealed juvenile history and that Diane hadn't been charged with anything. But the way people talked about her, it stuck with me. One guy I talked to, retired fireman in Joplin, he remembered the blaze. Said it was bad. Said there were rumors a little girl had died in that trailer, but no body was ever found. That Diane had a brother who just vanished. That shook me. I started wondering, was she reliving something? Hiding something? Why steal packages, keep my dog in a cage, and then burn a picture of me? What was the connection? I searched the footage again, every clip I had. I even checked the night she left the storage unit. Something felt off. And then I saw it. At 2:12 a.m., right before she locked the door, she looked into the unit, and smiled. Not a regular smile. A slow, proud one. Like she was satisfied with what she'd done. She looked right at the camera I had hidden in the tree. I never told anyone about that one. She wasn't supposed to know. That meant she saw it. She was watching me back. The next week, I got another package. No return label. Just my name, scrawled in black ink. I opened it outside, just in case. Inside was a tape recorder. Just a cheap handheld one, like something from the 90s. It clicked on as soon as I touched it. Diane's voice came through. "You think you know me," she said, calm and steady. "But you only see what I let you see. You're not the first one who got curious." Silence for a few seconds. Then, "You want to know what was in the bin, don't you?" Another pause. "I'll give you a clue. Listen to the walls." That was it. The tape ended. I stood there, holding that recorder, wondering if it was some kind of code or just another head game. But then something else happened. The next day, a man came to my door. Mid-40s, rough beard, old boots. Said his name was Travis. He looked tired, like someone who'd been living out of a truck. He asked if Diane lived nearby. I didn't say yes. Just asked why he was looking. He pulled out a photo. Diane as a teenager. Standing next to a younger boy. "That's my nephew," he said. "Name's Eli. He disappeared when he was 10. Diane was the last person to see him." I asked him if he thought she killed the boy. He looked down. "I don't know," he said. "But I know she lied. About everything." He said he'd been trying to find her for years. Said she'd change names, change addresses. Always alone. Always running. But she kept one thing with her. A black storage bin. Same as the one I saw her dragging out of the unit. That gave me chills. Travis said he just wanted to know the truth. Didn't care if it was bad. Just wanted to know what happened to Eli. I asked him if he thought she was doing this, stealing, breaking into homes, because of guilt. He shook his head. "Diane doesn't feel guilt. She turns it into control." That night, I didn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice from the recorder, listened to the walls. It bothered me. Over and over. Listen to the walls. Then it hit me. The house Diane bought 2 doors down. It used to belong to the Burgess family. I knew them. Old couple who died 3 years back. Their daughter sold the place cheap. The house had been empty for a while. I remembered something about the basement. When I helped move their old fridge out once, the floor had a weird soft spot. Almost hollow sounding. I grabbed my flashlight and snuck over while it was still dark. Her van wasn't there. The place was dark. I knew it was a risk, but I had to know. I slipped into the backyard and down the steps to the basement window. It was already cracked open. That's when I heard it. A humming sound. Low and steady. Not electric, more like human. Someone humming a tune, slow and off-key. I crouched below the window and peeked inside. The basement was lit with a single hanging bulb. Concrete walls. Old furniture. Stacks of boxes. And in the corner, there was the bin. Same black bin. Closed. Padlocked. But next to it was something else. A child's backpack. Blue. Dirty. Torn on one strap. And a name tag faded on the side, Eli. That's when the humming stopped. I ducked fast. A shadow moved across the far wall. She was down there. I crawled back from the window, heart racing, hands shaking. I didn't know if she saw me. I didn't care. I ran home, locked the doors, and called Travis. Told him to meet me at the diner the next day. I had something he needed to see. Because whatever was in that basement, Diane had been hiding it for years. And I wasn't going to let her do it anymore. I met Travis at the diner the next morning. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. When I told him about the backpack, the humming, and the bin in Diane's basement, he just stared at me. "Are you sure it said Eli?" he asked. I nodded. "Plain as day." He leaned back in the booth. His eyes watered, but he didn't cry. He just looked, resolved. Like this wasn't about grief anymore. It was about truth. We came up with a plan. I told him I still had cameras around Diane's house. I'd help him track her movements. If she left the house again, we'd break in together. Get photos, proof, whatever we could. Enough to get her arrested. Not just for theft or trespassing, but for whatever she was hiding in that basement. Friday came. Same routine. 12:14 a.m., her van pulled out of the driveway. We waited 5 minutes, then headed over. The back basement window was still cracked open. Travis went in first. I followed with my flashlight and phone camera. The basement was cold and smelled like bleach. The humming was gone, but it still echoed in my memory. We moved fast. Travis went straight to the corner. When he saw the backpack, he knelt beside it and picked it up like it was a piece of gold. He opened the front pocket, pulled out a small plastic toy, a green army man. His hands shook. That was his favorite, he said. He used to line them up in rows. I moved toward the black bin. It was still locked. I used a crowbar I brought to pry it open. Inside were more bins, but smaller. Each one labeled with names and dates. Not just Eli. There were 4 other names. 3 boys. 1 girl. Each with a sealed plastic bag inside, small toys, photos, drawings, a shirt. It looked like Diane had been collecting them. Keeping trophies. Then we found the notebook. A thick, leather-bound book. Inside were pages and pages of writing. Each page detailed how she'd saved them. The kids. She wrote about rescuing them from the noise, about keeping them safe from the storm. None of it made sense. It read like a diary written by someone completely detached from reality. She had a page about Max too. Said she kept him to teach me patience. That he was part of the test. That if I reacted too soon, I'd ruin the next phase. That's when I realized, I wasn't just a neighbor who got on her bad side. She was playing a game. With me. And I had walked right into it. We took pictures of everything. Every page. Every bin. Every bag. Travis was trembling, but he kept going. Then we heard the door upstairs slam shut. She was back. I killed the flashlight. We ducked into the shadows. Her footsteps above were slow. Methodical. Like she was listening. Then I heard her voice, calm and low, "It's not your story. You don't belong in it." I motioned to Travis. We had to go. We crawled back toward the basement window. But it slammed shut from the outside. She had locked us in. The door at the top of the stairs creaked open. "You shouldn't have come here," she said. "I told you it wasn't over." Travis stood up, holding the backpack like a shield. "Where's Eli, Diane?" She didn't answer. Just started coming down the stairs with something in her hand. A fire axe. Travis didn't flinch. "Tell me what you did." I grabbed my phone, started streaming to the cloud, speaking loud. "This is being recorded. You touch us, you go down for everything." That made her pause. She stopped halfway down the stairs. Eyes wide, breathing hard. Then she dropped the axe. She looked at the bins. At the notebooks. At the photos. Then at us. And she said something I'll never forget. "He's not dead. He just doesn't remember." "What?" Travis asked. "I gave him to a family. I changed his name. He's out there." That broke him. He ran at her, screaming. I stopped him. Barely. She laughed. You won't find him. You can't even find yourselves. That was it. We called the police again, told them she was holding us in a locked basement with stolen property and threats. They came. Kicked down the front door. Diane didn't fight. She didn't say a word when they cuffed her. Just smiled as they took her away, like she'd won something. She was charged with multiple counts of theft, trespassing, false imprisonment, and obstruction. Once the photos and the diary came out, the FBI got involved. Turns out the names in her bins matched cold cases across 3 states. Some of the missing kids were found. A few alive, living under new names. One of them was Eli. He was 16 now. Living in a foster home in Kansas under a new name. Diane had dropped him off at a church 6 years ago, claiming to be his aunt. They never linked it back to her. Travis met him 2 months later. The kid didn't remember much. Trauma blocked most of it out. But DNA confirmed it. He was home again. As for me, I moved a few months after. Couldn't stay on that street anymore. Too many memories. Too many nights spent staring out windows, waiting for shadows. I still keep cameras up. I still check my porch every day. But I don't live in fear. Because Diane? She's never getting out. She took everything too far, and in the end, it all collapsed on her. I didn't set out for revenge. I just wanted my damn packages. But sometimes, when you start pulling a loose thread, you unravel the whole damn thing.